Hi, I'm Steph Clutterbuck. I'm from the UK and I am a professional long distance triathlete. I have done sport for longer than I can remember. I started racing when I was 7 in the swimming pool, and I did my first county championships at the age of 10, and I don't know how to be anything else. I love performing, I love progressing, I love everything that it takes to get better, both as an athlete, as a human being, and that really is what drives me. I want to be the best version of myself, and I truly believe that being out here and doing triathlon and sport is something that gives that to me. So it was the 15th or 16th of May, and I was doing my first threshold run since way before Texas, I think even before Oceanside. So I knew it was going to be hard, but I was running and I just felt off. I can't really explain it. And I think it was on the 3rd or 4th interval I started, and I just had this pain, like being stabbed in my chest. We went off to the hospital, obviously, to get everything checked, but we didn't get answers for what was wrong until about a month later. And the intensity of the pain gave me this overwhelming fear that I would go to sleep and I wouldn't wake up. Because in my mind, there was no guarantee that my heart would beat again, because clearly something was wrong, but we didn't know what it was. And hearts are quite important. Obviously, I couldn't afford for it to not beat. But I think there was a part of me that genuinely didn't know if it would carry on. I am so incredibly grateful to be here in Kona. I think when everything kicked off and we were given a timeline, there was general consensus between my doctors that this was quite a tight turnaround to be able to compete at a World Championships, let alone a World Championships in Hawaii, when you even the conditions are stressing the body to its absolute maximum. So the fact that I've been able to recover, fully recover, we got the all clear that all evidence of myocarditis had gone just before we flew to Texas, which was fantastic. So to know that I'm racing fully healthy, even if I'm not necessarily fully fit, is such a wonderful feeling. And yeah, I have so much gratitude that I get to be here doing what I love in a place that truly is astonishing, and I have the opportunity to cross the finish line on Saturday. I think I've carried over from previous sports actually all of the learnings that I made. I grew up in sport and I made lots and lots of mistakes. I had a couple of serious injuries and had to really work on myself and my mindset and my identity away from being solely an athlete when things weren't going particularly well. So I like to think that they're the main things that I have brought over to make me a bit more bulletproof as a fully formed long distance triathlete now. So my first Ironman, I was only supposed to do one. So when it was 2018, and I was just in the process of stopping rowing. I had a chronic back injury that had given me chronic pain, and as a result of that, I had severely diminished my mental health and my opinion of myself and my self-worth. And I had to stop before the competition that I'd been working towards for 2 years. So I decided that I needed to do something really hard to prove to myself that I was capable of doing hard things and I didn't just fail at stuff. And an Ironman was really scary, and I'd heard a couple of friends do them and say they were really hard, so I thought, what better way to do something hard and prove that you're capable than do something that you actually don't think that you can finish. So I signed up to do Ironman Copenhagen the following year in August of 2019, and it was probably the best and worst day of my life. My first experiences of Kona taught me that I knew nothing. Literally nothing at all about this sport. When I came in 2022, I had grand aspirations of wanting to win my age group, and I went out and raced as if it was 15 degrees Celsius and raining, and ended up on the side of the road waiting for a medical van because I had heat stroke and had lost 7 kilos, which was a terrible idea. And then the following year, for me, it was all about redemption. So I wanted to, again, prove to myself that I could do it so that it didn't become a thing that I couldn't race here in Kona. And I did it. I crossed the finish line and that was great. But again, I wasn't able to perform anywhere close to what I wanted to. And we didn't really understand why. And I think the last 12 months the last 4 months has given us a much better understanding of my body and what I need to perform out here. But yeah, those first 2 experiences taught me that I knew absolutely nothing. No, Kona doesn't feel like unfinished business anymore. That certainly was the case in 2023, and that's why, for me, I really needed to come back and just get to the finish line and have no other real goal other than that, because like I said, I couldn't have it being a thing that I couldn't finish in Kona, whereas now it's another race location that has its challenges, and it is challenging here. But we've prepared for it in the best way that we can, and I am ready to give it absolutely everything that I have next weekend. So Ironman Texas for me was an important race to kind of have a good showing in difficult conditions. I started to experience what we thought was vertigo in the swim, because it's really dark water and there's just no depth perception. I started to feel really sick and nauseous and dizzy, and we now know that was a POTS flare-up, but obviously at the time didn't really have a clue what was going on. In that time, we also think that it was during the swim that I picked up or triggered something in the water, triggered a virus or an illness that eventually led to myocarditis. So the race itself was actually fine and exactly what we wanted. It wasn't anything special across any of the 3 disciplines, but I finished the race in a really positive way, which was fantastic. It was the next 2 weeks that it became obvious that there was something not right with my body. And yeah, it was I think it was literally 2 weeks and 2 days post-race that I started to experience the chest pain. Hearing we don't know what's wrong in the first cardiology appointment was pretty heartbreaking. Actually, I think it was worse in the first hospital appointment that we went to, because they kind of said, well, we know something's wrong, but we don't know what it is. And you're just left with this kind of big black hole of, okay, cool, but what am I supposed to do now? You've just told me there is something wrong with my heart, but you've also told me that you don't know what's wrong with it, and you don't know when you can tell me what's wrong with it. What do I do? Do I go home and train? Do I go home and sit on the sofa? Am I allowed to do any exercise at all? And it was at that point that we decided that we had to go and find someone who was a bit, I guess, more experienced working with athletes and our nuances. And it wasn't for another 2 weeks until we had our first cardiology appointment. And he was brilliant and kind of said, it's actually better the longer that I don't know what's wrong, because we rule out all the big things first, and then we kind of hone in on any specific areas that are an issue. But that meant that it was another 2.5 weeks after that point. So I think it was 5 weeks after initial chest pain that we had a diagnosis of what was going on with my heart. Basically everything that I've experienced over the last 18 months, from either a kind of POTS point of view or a myocarditis point of view, made sense after diagnosis. I have repeatedly said over the last kind of 2 years that I feel really unfit. Walking upstairs is hard. Less so now, but it was getting increasingly hard. I think from the years of sport, know my body quite well, so was always able to not quite reach the point of failing sessions. But every kind of training cycle, I was failing more and more, and leading up to POTS diagnosis and the myocarditis, I was failing a session every 2 weeks, unable to get on the bike because I was so exhausted. And it was just so unlike me, and I just thought I was getting older, and maybe my body just didn't want to do this, and maybe we made a mistake. Whereas that absolutely wasn't the case at all, and my body was telling me something that I just didn't understand yet, but now we do. So yeah, essentially every single thing that my body does that I didn't realise other people's don't, like light sensitivity and dry eyes and stomach sensitivities and issues dealing with different like changes in temperature and all that. I didn't realise it was such a big deal that I couldn't deal with those things, but now I understand why. So reintroducing training was slow and painful and frustrating, and I think I cried every day for the first like 4 weeks. So we were balancing the return from myocarditis with also the return from this kind of POTS crash that I'd experienced, where all of my symptoms just, I can't even explain it. My body just gave up, essentially, and I just had to sleep and I couldn't do anything else. So we were retraining my body that training and exercise was not a threat, and therefore was not something that it needed to like go into fight or flight about. So we started off with like 30 minutes every 48 hours, and gradually that increased to like an hour and a half every 48 hours. And then it was 2 days on, 1 day off, and then 3 days on, 1 day off, of 1 session a day, and then we made it 2 sessions a day. But that whole process, I think my first 3 session day wasn't until, other than ZLMC, which was a race, I don't know if that counts as 3 sessions, wasn't until like the middle of September. And I stopped training essentially after the first period of chest pain, which was middle of May. So yeah, trying to fit in 3 sports when you can only do 1 or 2 sessions a day and you're only training kind of 2 or 3 days at a time before needing to have a full rest day was hard, and progress was slow, and I kind of daily was asking the question, can I even do this? Like, is it worth it? Is my body gonna let me come back? Because it wasn't until really mid to end of August that we actually started to see progress in terms of like the training that my body could tolerate. So we started to use the lever system actually really early on with running, because I hadn't been running much. With POTS, running is the one that triggers symptoms the most because you're stood upright, and if lying down is the best, standing up's the worst. Running is like off the scale. So we were using the lever just to try and mediate a little bit some of this heart rate increase, while also loading my body when it couldn't tolerate that much running, not through injury, but just I was running so slowly and my heart rate would not drop below 170. So every run was like a tempo threshold run, and then I just need to sleep. So the lever just alleviated that a little bit and meant that I could do a little bit more without completely overloading my body and my nervous system. And then as the myocarditis symptoms improved and the POTS symptoms therefore improved, we were able to utilize it to introduce some leg speed work. So taking off like quite a lot of body weight, setting the speed quite fast, like way faster than I had been running, like sub 4 minute Ks, just to get the cadence up so that I wasn't plodding, because I'd been plodding along at like 6 minutes per kilometre. So yeah, I was able to utilize it just to kind of get my leg speed going so that when I eventually came back to racing and doing intensity, it wasn't completely different to what I had been doing and how I had been running. For sure, training on the lever helped regain trust in my body, regain trust that I could do it. And it actually seemed like however my body managed a lever run, the next time I ran without it, the physical markers matched. So the lever was like a confirmation for my brain and my nervous system, like, yeah, this is fine. And then I can do it without the lever. And then we can step on again with the lever, and then it will match it again when I haven't got it on. So I think it's like, I noticed when I was at home and able to utilize it, we saw a lot of progress much faster than when I was just shuffling around outside getting really sad that I couldn't run very fast. ZLMC showed me honestly absolutely nothing about where my body is now, because I was really not fit nor conditioned going in. It showed me more that I was okay and that I could work hard and be okay. physically, the performance was nothing to write home about at all. It was my longest run in like months. Certainly my biggest training session. So I really had no expectations going in because I had no idea what sort of position my body would be in. So I guess it didn't show me anything that I didn't know from that side of things, but it showed me that I am okay, but also that I really do love this and I'm not ready to give it up without a fight. So strategy to be invisible here in Kona is, the idea is try not to put my nose in the wind because I usually can't help it. So invisibility for me is swimming in the pack, riding with women and using them to help manage my effort so that I don't kind of go off the front and have a great time to Harvey and then not able to make it back. And then ideally, you see me for the first time with 10K to go. It had actually been my strategy before all of this kicked off, was actually, you know what, let's see what can happen if I can surf the feet of the front group and the wheels of the front group and then see how fast I can run. Whereas now it's much more, I really want to be able to execute a good second 21.1 kilometers. And I believe that the best way for me to do that is to be invisible until that point, and be sensible and manage my effort and manage my heat and make sure I'm fueling really well, and just don't do anything that will go viral or that will get me noticed. Like I want to have a drama-free day, which after the last 4 months is music to my ears. It has been absolutely amazing learning from Kat through all the training that we've done this year. Her approach to structuring a week and the way that she's created her team around her and the way that she approaches training sessions when they do or don't go to plan is absolutely fantastic. And it's been really aspirational for me to be on this journey back to myself alongside someone who is absolutely one of the best in the world, training to prove that on a world stage. Not that she needs to prove it, but certainly training to reach her potential on the world stage. We've learned loads about kind of the attention to detail that is required and the thought processes that need to go into absolutely everything within a week, rather than just the training and recovery. It's like a much bigger holistic view. And also how to be adaptable. I think we all think that these athletes that are winning world championships are coming in and whatever Training Peak says they execute and it's all green all the time. Whereas in actual fact, what makes them so spectacular and amazing and consistent is they're able to know when to say, actually no, that's too much. I'm going to do less there so that I can do this tomorrow. And this is the main thing that I want to be doing this week or this day. So I need to flex the rest of the day to fit around that. So it's not about hitting green all the time. It's about executing the key things in the key moments. And then the rest of it is just there to support that. And I think that goes for the day-to-day grind, but then the week, the month, the race, the year. It's been amazing to watch that in action and then hopefully see it come to fruition over this last week too. Successful race in Kona for me this year is being proud crossing the finish line. I think I should be if I make it anyway, but I just want to feel that I've done the work that we've done to get here justice, running down the last bit of Elite Drive. I hope other athletes take away that it's okay to slow down, and quite often it is absolutely the right thing to do. Pushing through in most cases is not the fastest way to recover, and it won't get you the gains or the performance that you think it will. Big picture's so much better, and not doing the race, not doing the training in the moments that you need to not do it is probably the hardest thing you can do, but is also the most powerful.